February 20th, 2014, a bloody Thursday in Kiev, Ukraine. Just a year ago, thousands of riot police forces sent by the pro-Russian president, Viktor Yanukovych, clashed with the mass of pro-European protesters at the site which quickly became the symbol of the Ukrainian revolution, Maidan Square. Gunshots, tear gas, fires. That night, the protesters achieved their goal. President Yanukovych finally fled Kiev. A year after, it is clear, February 20th was just the beginning of a long struggle for Ukraine's future. With the support of Vladimir Putin, the pro-Russian separatists began fighting the Ukrainian army in the east of the country. Thousands of people have died in the battles, which have also put a strain on the everyday lives of residents of the region. Today, despite a European-led ceasefire in place, the calm seems to be hanging by a thread. Our focus this week is on Ukraine. Hello and welcome to our focus on Ukraine. As the conflict in the east of the country continues to escalate, one doesn't have to look far to find proof that the Ukraine crisis is a mess of contradictions. So far, according to the UN, more than 5,600 people have lost their lives in this full-scale conflict, which a few saw coming. Vladimir Solohov is a Ukrainian journalist based in Kiev and is now about to join us in order to help us read the current situation in his country better. Hi, Vladimir. How are you?
Hello, Tal. I'm fine. Good to be with you.
So give us the latest update coming from the east of Ukraine.
Ever since the Ukrainian troops were withdrawn from the town of Debaltseve, which was the place of the fierce battle during the last several weeks, and even after the ceasefire was declared in Minsk, the battle for Debaltseve was still raging. And just several days ago, the president of Ukraine ordered Ukrainian troops to withdraw from Debaltseve. We don't know exactly how many Ukrainian troops were in this town, but they were basically encircled.
Can you maybe explain to us this conflict through the eyes of different factors within the divided Ukrainian society?
It's evident that everybody wants peace, obviously. However, the people in eastern Ukraine, all those who remained there, they obviously want peace, because the humanitarian situation in eastern Ukraine is especially in those towns who are under the rule of Russia-backed militants, is very dire. People do not have water, do not have electricity, do not have regular supplies of food.
Well, Vladimir, the ceasefire, which was agreed upon in the Minsk Accord, obviously did not last. Let me ask you this. Could it be that the European leaders, the European Union leaders are misreading the situation there?
It's possible that they are misreading the situation, but it's also possible that the European leaders are not willing to apply more pressure on Russia, because the latest Minsk negotiations, it involved the Russian president along with the Ukrainian president, the European leaders, and that means that the EU leaders realize that they have to talk to the Russian president to make sure the ceasefire is achieved in eastern Ukraine. However, what apparently they do not realize or are not willing to do is to apply more pressure, to apply harsher measures, apply more sanctions on Russia, or even, as the talks have been lasting several weeks, supply Ukraine with lethal defense weapons.
Are these actually the expectations of Ukrainian people from these Western countries taking part in negotiating?
Oh, absolutely, Tal. I should say that these expectations among Ukrainians, the older Ukrainians on the streets, are present since summer. Obviously, Ukraine is not ready to face the well-equipped and well-armed enemy as Russia. Therefore, they were expecting that the European countries would do more than just express deep concerns or apply economic sanctions. They were expecting and hoping for some drastic measures.
Now, Vladimir, to what extent do Ukrainian citizens actually feel connected to these eastern territories?
Well, Tal, there are mixed feelings, I should say, among ordinary Ukrainians. Some of the Ukrainians feel that it would be better just to let them go. to give them a way to Russia. If they want to join Russia, let them go, let them join Russia. They do not want, basically, and these are mostly the people who, as I already said, they have someone fighting in eastern Ukraine. They do not understand why people from other parts of Ukraine have to go to eastern Ukraine and fight for the land of the people who are living there and who do not want to be part of Ukraine. On the other hand, there is another notion among the population is that we are not willing to give any other part of our territory. We already gave up Crimea. Crimea was taken away from Ukraine, so we do not want to give up eastern Ukraine because some people fear that Putin will not stop with these regions.
Vladimir, thank you so much for all your insights.
Thank you, Tal, for having me. It was good talking to you.
Modern history has shown that student movements are often in the vanguard of radical social change, and Ukraine is no exception. 1 year ago on Maidan Square, Kiev's young generation played a pivotal role in the protest, which eventually managed to topple the unpopular government of Viktor Yanukovych. Lesya Kurchenko, an NGO co-worker, was one of the participants of Maidan's protests, and she's here with us today. Hello, Lesya.
Hey, how are you?
I'm great. So you're living in Kiev, in an area which is remote from the battle zones, basically. Describe us, what do younger generations in your city are actually going through these days? What are they mostly concerned about?
As you said, yes, Kiev is kind of far away from the war zone, but I would say that in Kiev you can feel the events in the east just as intensive as those who are living nearby.
How would you describe the political tendencies which are now prevailing among the younger generations in Ukrainian society?
Well, I would say that in general, people in Ukraine, no matter how old are they, so both young and older, people became more active during this year because of both Euromaidan protest and the situation which happened after. So, like the war situation, at the moment, many people are volunteering and donating to support those in need, IDPs, Ukrainian army, and actually each other. So we became like more unified and more active in general. Speaking about young people, I would say that one of the tendencies is that young people are eager to take responsibility and they would like to commit also for the changes in this way.
And how do young adults in Ukraine view Russia nowadays?
Unfortunately, we all know that many Russians support Putin's politics and Putin's position now, which I don't know why it is happening. For me, I still have friends from Russia, and we still can communicate and understand each other. There are not so many of them, I would say just a few, but they're still there. Unfortunately, many people, also some of my friends, like my ex-friends already, supported Putin's politics, and they said that, yeah, Crimea belongs to Putin, and actually what is happening in the east of Ukraine is kind of civil war, and there is no Russian army, and so on and so on. I would not judge them. If they want to support this position, it's their own choice, but we are not friends anymore.
Lesya, thank you so much for this very interesting interview. The 2012 UEFA European Championship was co-hosted for the first time by Poland and Ukraine. Nowadays, due to the war and the financial crisis in the country, Ukraine is refraining from making bids to host future sports tournaments. To hear more about the effects of the fighting on sports, let's say hi to Mirav Savir, our sports expert. Hi.
Hi, Tal.
So how difficult is it for individual athletes or sports teams to actually concentrate in sports these days?
Well, Tal, there's one team that is significantly affected by this war in the eastern Ukraine, and that's Shakhtar Donetsk. They play, obviously, out of Donetsk, but they haven't been able to actually play in Donetsk since last June or May. They moved their training facilities. They're training in all different places. Just over the last couple of weeks, they were training in Kiev for their first leg of their championship Championship League game against Bayern Munich, and they're playing all their games hundreds of miles away in Lviv, where most of their fans are still in that war-torn area. They can't get to their games, but the players are saying it's really hard for them to focus because while they're on the pitch playing their game, doing their work, there are people dying in a place that they
and their families, right? Their families are there.
Some have their families. A lot of them are foreign players. They have about, I believe, 6 Brazilian players on their teams who were the first ones to say, wait a second, we're not going back there if there's a war going on. And that's when the whole process started of them moving out of Donetsk, playing their games away from home. But they're saying that's all they think about. Their talks in the locker room don't revolve around soccer or cars or anything else that may be going on. They focus on the possible truce. Will it actually work? Will they be able to play there? And the thing that's most saddening is that they have possibly one of the nicest stadiums. It's only about 5 years old in Donetsk. That was actually hit by shelling last summer. And so what they had to do is, even if this conflict does end in the next couple weeks, they already, reports that they already extended their lease to play in Lviv until the end of 2015, because even if they themselves can return to Donetsk, they don't have the facilities to play in.
Oh, this is pretty much crazy. I can only, think about the foreign players, their contract. What can you do? There's a war going on. And what about, Mirav, Ukrainian athletes or Ukrainian teams, playing abroad? How difficult is it for them?
Well, there's actually one basketball player in the NBA, Alex Len, who spoke out about it recently. His family is from eastern Ukraine. He said his mother came with him to the United States, and he tried to bring his grandparents, but it was just too much of a culture shock for them, and they decided to go back. And what he told reporters in interviews is that even though he tries to focus on his game and he's having a really good season despite everything that's going on in his home country, he's saying that he's hearing these stories from his cousins, from his grandparents, and that they can hear shelling and gunfire constantly outside their houses, and that's something that's always in the back of his mind, even though he tries to stay focused. So even hundreds of thousands of miles away, there's still that effect that you're still stuck there in eastern Ukraine because your family's there and you're hearing these stories.
Well, maybe he can find some comfort that is actually representing his country. Mirav Sabir, thank you so much for all this information. And now, what else is going on in Ukraine?
Ukraine's economy may face a large decline in 2015. Ukraine's Deputy Economic Development and Trade Minister said the country's GDP could drop by 6% this year. According to him, the decline is largely due to the ongoing war and the sanctions imposed on the country by Russia. Ukraine's President Petro Poroshenko says Ukraine will remain a unitary state, something over 90% of Ukrainians support. While the government will go through decentralization, he believes the embattled country's future does not include federalization. Ukraine and Israel are in talks to set up a free trade area. Israeli Foreign Minister Avigdor Lieberman and his Ukrainian counterpart recently announced at a joint press conference that the discussions to achieve the cooperation are productive and intensifying. A Ukrainian arts center has been relocated and revived in Kiev. The center was moved to the Ukrainian capital after separatists took control of its original building in Donetsk and destroyed some of the artwork. The center held its first exhibition since the relocation earlier this month.
According to statistics, there are 2,500 Jews living in Ukraine, half of them in Kiev, and 20,000 of them are estimated to be currently located in battle zones. Anti-Semitism has a long history in the country, but recently it has taken a strange twist, turning Jews into pawns in a dangerous political game being played out between the Ukraine and Russia. And one Jew from Donetsk came here to our studio, and to Israel for sure, as a student. And he's here with us, Pavel Berman. Hi, thank you for being with us.
Hello.
So first tell us your personal story. What made you come here to Israel? You escaped the battle zones just right on time, right?
I moved to Israel not long ago, about 6 months ago. I think I will eventually stay here permanently, make Aliyah. I'm studying at the Ariel University as part of a project called Masa. I think that Israel is a great place to live, especially for someone with Jewish heritage. There is no better place.
And is your family still there? Are you still in touch with your friends? What are they telling you? What does your city currently look like?
My friends and family are now in Donetsk. We are constantly in touch. They tell me about huge problems in the country. As for my city and the way it looks now, it's scary to think about. I've seen the pictures. They take pictures all the time. All the places that I used to know and love look completely different now.
Does the issue of anti-Semitism play a certain role?
I didn't encounter this while I was there. I haven't heard about any anti-Semitism problems in the country. I maybe heard about it through the media, but none of my friends have ever witnessed it firsthand, and I have many Jewish friends.
All right, thank you so much, Pavel, for coming to our studio today. Спасибо.
Спасибо.
So these were the voices from Ukraine, and basically this is all the time we have for today. Be sure to join us again next week on another focus. A very extremely interesting country is coming up.